Okay, so I've been seeing this trend go around about rules that would send a 17-year-old into a coma. Well, I want to share with you guys my rules that my parents had for me growing up. I was not allowed to bring my cell phone to school until I was in my junior year in high school. So I was about 16 in 11th grade. When I had got my license, I was not allowed to have anybody in the car with me until I had been driving for a year, and I wasn't allowed to be in any of my friends' cars unless they had been driving for a year. I had a curfew in my parents' house up until I moved out of their house, and I believe the latest my curfew has ever been was probably 1 a.m. And that was when I was maybe like 20, because I moved out at 21. And I want to add that when I did get a curfew, this was like starting like my 11th year of high school when I was able to like stay out later. But other than that, I wasn't allowed to be out late. And if I was playing outside, I had to be in when the street lights were on. And it gradually like got a little bit later, but it started out, I would say, a curfew at like 10 p.m. I had midnight for the longest. I remember coming home at like 12:01, 12:02, like, oh shit. I was not allowed to wear makeup, so I didn't wear any makeup throughout my entire years of in any grade level. I started wearing makeup once I graduated high school and started my own job. But yeah, I was not allowed to wear makeup. So none of my friends see me with makeup until I graduated high school. I wasn't allowed to have boys over. I feel like that's kind of common, but I also had friends growing up and also know of people who were allowed to have boys over and have their boyfriends over. I got to a certain age where when I did have a boyfriend, I could bring them over, but we were not allowed to go upstairs. And yeah, just really never brought a guy to the house, to be honest. Maybe like one time. I had to make my bed every single morning, and if I did not make my bed and my parents went in my room, mainly my dad went in my room, if he got home from work before I got home from school, he would literally take off every piece of bedding off of my bed and make me remake the whole entire bed. I was not allowed to listen to explicit music or watch certain TV shows. I had parental locks on my TV on certain channels. And it was on there for so long that my parents actually forgot the pass code. So when I did get a little bit older to watch certain ones, even though I still really wasn't allowed to watch majority of them, I had to go in like another room because in my room, they forgot the code. My chores were to do the dishes and vacuum every day for the dishes, and then I had to vacuum every other day. And one time I did not vacuum and I went to go hang out with my friends instead of vacuuming on the day I was supposed to vacuum. My dad called me and told me that I needed to stop what I was doing with my friends and come home and vacuum. When I would get on punishment, one of the punishments would be that, of course, I had to give up my phone and I was not allowed to close my bedroom door, wasn't allowed to watch TV, couldn't go outside, couldn't hang out with my friends. Yeah, and they loved taking my phone, so my friends know I did not have my phone a lot growing up. I also had to cook one day out of the week for the family as part of my chores. I was not allowed to have a Facebook, MySpace, any type of social media, any type of like app that required like you being social with the person. I was not allowed to have. And if my parents found out that I had that, which they did, I was on punishment. It seemed like forever, never. I also wasn't allowed to get on the computer if not one of my parents were home. I also, at a certain age, once I got a job, I had to pay my parents a certain amount of money out of my paycheck, every paycheck. At one point, for a little bit, I was not allowed to wear skinny jeans. I'm really laughing at that one because, I mean, I get it. Maybe they're a little too tight, but if I had on too much lip gloss, my mom would tell me to wipe some of it off. If I wanted to go over to any of my friends' house, I had to ask, of course, even if that was just to like go inside. Like I had a lot of friends in my neighborhood. I lived in a cul-de-sac, so if I wanted to go over their house, I would have to ask. And then if I wanted to stay the night at anyone's house, my mom would have to meet their parents first. And, you know, from there, they would let me know if I could stay the night or not. And I always had like a curfew time that I had to be back home the next morning. And also, if I wanted to eat anything at a friend's house that, like, say we were outside and their parents made something to eat or something, and they asked me if I wanted some, I would have to ask before I could just go and eat it. I also was not allowed to drink soda up until a certain age, which I'm actually really grateful for because I don't like to do that and I don't do it often now. What else? I had to give my phone to my parents at night. I was not allowed to sleep with it in my room. So before I went to bed, I had to give it to them. And I wasn't able to get it back in the morning because I wasn't allowed to take it to school. Except for on the weekends, I can go in there and get it in the morning, but I still wasn't allowed to sleep with it in my room. If I had ever woke up one day for school not feeling good, and my mom asked me, okay, well, if you're not feeling that good to where you can't go to school, you need to give me your phone. I was not allowed to wear red nail polish, and I was not allowed to get acrylic on my nails. And if I wanted to have the long fake nails, you know, like the ones from Claire's Icings back then, I could only wear them on the weekends, and I had to take them off before I went back to school on Monday. If I missed the school bus in the morning because I woke up late, then my parents would make me walk to school. It wasn't really far, but it was a good little walk. Like, it wasn't like, oh my God, really, really far, but it probably was a good 20-minute, 25-minute walk. I, of course, was not allowed to drink or smoke. If my parents found out, of course, I was on punishment. I feel like those are just main ones that I could really think about right now, but y'all, my parents were very strict. And everyone's different, but my parents did not play. They didn't. And I will say I am very grateful for some of their ways and their discipline with me growing up, because it makes sense now, especially in this time, in this world. But